안녕하세요. If everyone could take 1 second and please stand up. Could everyone just please stand up for 1 second? Thank you. This is something I just like to do for all my talks. If everyone could just turn around and look for someone they don't know and just introduce yourself. Say your name, 이름과 and your business, or just get to know one more person, please. Maybe you're sitting next to someone very good looking and this is your lucky day. Okay, thank you. If you could please take a seat again. So thank you all for your time today. I'm with Goodwater Capital. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs ask me this question. Eric, what should I do? They ask me, Eric, what should I do? Should I join a startup? Should I leave my job? I work at a big corporation. What should I do? At the same time, I think it's really important for people to realize that in the world today, every day, 22,000 people die of hunger. Let me repeat that. Every day, 22,000 people die of hunger today. And most of those people are under the age of 5. Now, these might seem like completely different questions because people ask, well, why are people dying every day? Why are there 22,000 people dying every day? And what is my calling? Or what should I do? My hope today through this speech is to bridge the gap between those two questions. Those questions are different sides of the same equation. And I hope that this presentation gives you a little bit of sense of hoping to answer that question for yourself, but within a global context. It's very important that we have a global perspective in today's world, and I'm going to talk about that. So often people ask the wrong question. They ask me, what should I do? And I think that's the wrong question. Then they ask, what do I want to do? I think that's the wrong question. Then they ask, what do I need to do? I think that's also the wrong question. I think the right question is actually, what am I called to do? When people say, what should I do? That word should is a word from the outside world. The outside world is telling you what you should do. That's what that word implies. And what I want to emphasize to everyone today, especially all those entrepreneurs out there, that it's really important for us to ask ourselves, what are we called to do? What are we called to do in today's global world? This is what I'm called to do. This is my mission statement. This is what Goodwater's mission statement is. It's to empower exceptional entrepreneurs who are changing the world. Everything we do at Goodwater is focused on this, 100%, 100%. Everything we do. And so that's what my mission is, and I want to tell you a little bit about my story, how I got there. And I want to highlight some companies today in Korea that are fulfilling their mission, their calling on a global scale. So we're going to cover kind of the golden age of technology, the importance of being global, why the world needs you, and finding your calling, and a little bit about the Goodwater mission. So if you look at every decade since the 80s, the amount of equity value that has been created decade after decade has just exponentially grown. 2 billion in the 80s with personal computing, 7 billion in the 90s with web computing, 40 billion with mobile computing in the 2000s. And in this decade alone, 172 billion of new market cap value has been created through the combination of local, social, and mobile. Yet the question remains, are we in a bubble? I don't think we are. I think we're in early innings. Take, for example, people get very excited about companies like Amazon and eBay that have created a tremendous amount of market cap value. What I say is, there's only 1.5 trillion of transaction volume online today. There's still an $18.5 trillion market to go after. Same with advertising. Great companies like Google and Facebook have been created off of about 100 billion of online advertising today. There's still $1 trillion of radio, TV, billboards that has yet to be disintermediated. I really do think it's important for us to realize that it is a global world. What used to be the golden age for the West is now becoming the golden age for the East. If you look at smartphone penetration or smartphone growth, if you will, more than half of that is going to be coming from Asia. So everyone here in this room is very well situated on a going forward basis. If you look at the traffic to the top 10 global sites, over 81% are non-US today. If you look at Facebook's growth for the last 8 quarters, 93% of that growth has come from outside of North America. When WhatsApp got acquired by Facebook, my phone was ringing off the hook. Everyone was calling me, Eric, why did they acquire WhatsApp for this big multiple, all this stuff? My answer is Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia represents 500 million people. In 4 countries alone, between Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam, with a smartphone penetration, 3G penetration less than 25%. That's the market they're after, and that's what represents a huge amount of upside for them. Again, WhatsApp was not a U.S. story. It was not a U.S. It was based in Palo Alto, but it was a global company. They had penetration in a bunch of different countries, not in the U.S., that represented an immense value to Facebook. Yet there's huge greenfield of opportunity ahead. You just look at the numbers, there's millions and millions of people, hundreds of millions of people with low smartphone penetration, high GDP per capita, great spending, and great growth ahead. This is the market to be in. This is where the growth is going to come from in the future. And you all are very well situated from that. And it's important for US companies and Asian companies, European companies, Latin American companies to all have this global perspective. If you look at all the giants that have been created, there's been quite a number, especially in China, a few here in Korea as well. And I think over the next 10, 15 years, we're going to see a lot more what we call unicorns popping up in Korea as well. If you look at Korea itself, it's been the forerunner of a lot of innovation. Cyworld in social networking, gaming from Nexon, a lot of hardware infrastructure innovation from Samsung. So Korea itself, I think it's worth pointing out, has been really a bellwether for technology for the entire world. It's quite something. I think everyone here knows these types of statistics. Korea with over 100% internet subscription rate, smartphone penetration over 70%, 4G ubiquity with 5G right around the corner, and a population density that's almost unmatched anywhere in the world. You have 50 million people in the size of the state of Indiana. And if you think about just inhabitable land, because there's so many mountains in Korea, it's really the size of Massachusetts. So you have an incredible amount of density in Korea as well. But what can we learn from case examples like Cyworld, which had a great lead in Korea? They tried to expand internationally and they failed. What can we learn from that? That's what I want to talk a little bit about, because it's much more competitive. It's a much more competitive world today, but the opportunity has never been greater. It's never been greater. There's been fundamental changes that have enabled globalization. This is a really important point. Before, when we used to launch websites, it used to be a strategic decision whether we would go into Canada from the United States. Now, through Google Play and iTunes, within a second, you get an instant distribution to 200 countries. This is a new phenomenon that just happened in the past few years. Instant distribution to over 200 countries, and you just have to localize for language. This is an enabling globalization. Another key thing that's enabling globalization today is payments. So you think about companies like PayPal, Stripe, and Braintree. The capabilities to do cross-border payments, to do basically commerce anywhere in the world, it exists now. It didn't exist before. And then the third leg of the stool is logistics and infrastructure. Now between companies like UPS, DHL, FedEx, and local companies in each country, 2-day shipping anywhere in the world is possible. Global commerce is now possible. Now, the reason I bring this up is that I hope that every Korean startup here, they reach their potential, not just locally here in Korea, but globally. But they have to pay attention to these forces. These are forces in nature that are going to increase competition, and you have to be that much better. So here's what I think about in terms of trying to find your calling in a global perspective. I think you have to think globally, you have to execute locally, you have to solve real problems, you have to attract global talent. I think KakaoTalk does this almost better than any other company in Korea today, as they attract global talent. and you have to embrace failure. Embrace failure. So I want to give you a couple examples of that. Also want to give you this framework. I think about things in three circles. Actually, this should be a Venn diagram where these three circles all align. If you find your passion, what the market needs, and what you're uniquely good at, if you can find something, that's what I call your calling. That's what I hope everyone here, especially those folks out on the booths, realize that your calling should be the intersection of these three things. What you're uniquely good at, what you're passionate about, and what the market needs. If you find that, that's magic. I'm going to breeze through these slides because you just heard the Kakao presentation, but as you all know, Kakao has been an amazing story. It's been amazing to watch, growing to now over 140 million downloads. They just announced yesterday that there's been now 500 million subscribers on their gaming platform. It's amazing. And they are truly competing in a global world. Today you have companies like WeChat, Line, WhatsApp, US, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. This is as about a competitive of a global market as it gets, and they're right in the thick of it. And so you see what they're doing in Indonesia with folks like Big Bang, with the media out there. And so, I think we all need to cheer Kakao on as they go after the global market here. It's quite a story, and we should all be very proud of it. Another company I want to highlight is Mimibox, which was the first Korean startup to enter Y Combinator in Silicon Valley. Y Combinator is kind of the best incubator in the world, essentially. And Dino and Toin Isa were the first two Koreans from Korea to enter the program in January. And it's been an unbelievable success so far in the US. You have Americans opening up these boxes from Korea that have been shipped from Korea. And you see just the reactions of folks like this on YouTube.
Kind of sound. It's my heater. We got the heat on in the house because it's really cold outside. I'm very excited because it's time for Mimibox, and usually they come in a pink package, and I've never showed you guys that, but this one is black, and I'm feeling very intrigued. So this is the Mimibox 4th edition. I absolutely love Mimibox. By the way, their 2nd edition has been refilled, and that's the one where I got my BB cream from. Quickly go.
So you see, if you go on YouTube today, you search for Mimibox, there's tens of thousands of these on YouTube today, all come from the United States. This is a Korean company from Seoul. They set up shop in East Palo Alto, and now they're getting this kind of traction and this kind of virality in the US. It is an amazing story. I'm going to breeze through and this is worth noting. There's a petition online for 61 countries that are asking for Mimibox to go to their country. I've never seen anything like this before. Someone setting up a petition in their country to get a Korean product into their own homeland. It's amazing. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, and I've got only just a few minutes here. I grew up as a cellist. I performed all around the world. I performed in Carnegie Hall. I performed here in Korea, Yasuda Jeongdang at the Seoul Arts Center. I performed in England and France, and it was a great experience. But it was very self-oriented. It was very self-gratifying, and it wasn't my calling. Actually, in 9/11, I'll never forget this day. I was walking to class on September 11, 2011. I was in New Haven at Yale University. I was a senior in college, and I heard the news, and I watched it on TV as the second plane crashed into the towers, and then both towers came down. And that's when I really came to think about what is my calling in life, and what do I want to devote my life and skills to. And so this was my first startup. It was actually in college. It was called the Musical Cure at Yale. We were about a 100-person group, and basically we brought music to people who needed it. People in hospitals, people in cancer wards, the homeless shelters. And that was my first glimpse at how we can have an impact on the world. And when 9/11 happened, we had a big benefit concert, raised a lot of money, brought the whole community together. But it also made me realize the power of technology. Because the way we got the word out was through blogs, it was through instant messaging, it was through ICQ. You could see the power of social media when you wanted to get something done. And now you look at what Facebook and Twitter has done. Twitter has brought down regimes and dictatorships in the Middle East. this was my first glimpse, and this is how I fell in love with technology, was through a nonprofit for musicians, essentially. I do think it's important for people to realize that there is good and bad in the world. This is a woman that's mourning her husband's loss, on the anniversary of their wedding, a soldier who died in war. This is in Kosovo, a child being passed between a refugee camp to his grandparents in Kosovo. This is a scarred Rwandan young boy that you just see the scar of what's going on. We can never forget, even here at B-Launch, what's going on in the world today. Again, I started this session telling everyone here, 22,000 people a day are dying. And you think about what's my calling, and I hope that you guys can all marry those two as you think about what your calling is. We have the opportunity to change the world. And you look at a few companies in technology that on a global scale are changing the world. Facebook through internet.org, Twitter through just the incredible amount of information that they can get out there to take down dictatorships. KakaoTalk through just what they do in the community, and even a company like Coupang, which I want to show you a video that they did recently in the community. They went out. This is a technology company, an e-commerce company.
기적을 믿으시나요? 이 이야기는 기적을 믿는 당신께 드리는 선물입니다.
So Coupang, the company, they went out and they supported this family, this young 18-year-old who has intestinal problems. 138 employees of the company went out and they surprised. The Coupang, it's an e-commerce company, but they're all about bringing satisfaction. They want people to enjoy this world. But they ask themselves, how can we enjoy this world when there's people like this suffering? They're basically living with other families after their house burned down. Her father died, her mother's an alcoholic. And then this is the Coupang employees.
You have had enough. I know that I can take you home, but I'll never give up. It's getting harder now that you are gone. I try to wipe my tears, cause I believe in us. So I try to find better words I could say. I'm sure that I don't wanna let you go.
So I just want to emphasize, I know we covered a lot of topics today, but everyone in this room today, through technology, through capital investment, through your own sweat and tears, we have the opportunity to change the world. Every day we have the opportunity to change the world. Those 22,000 people, most of which are young kids that are dying of hunger, it's not because we don't have enough food in the world. Actually, we have excess supply of food. It's because we haven't figured out how to get that food and that distribution to the people who need it. I would say whether you're a social networking company, whether you're an e-commerce company, you're either competing today locally and tomorrow you're going to compete globally. Please remember that you have the opportunity to change the world. And I hope that you answer the call. That through your startups, through your talent, through your energy, everything that you do, everything that you give every day, you don't do it for yourself. Of course you're going to do it for yourself, but you also answer the call to help other people, to help everyone, not just locally, but globally as well. I thank you for your time. Thanks so much for your time today, and I hope this was a useful session. Thank you very much. 감사합니다. Thank you.